good morning and welcome to Breaking the Rules. My name is Ray Lowe and I'm your host for the day. And in addition to dealing with our topic of breaking the rules, I'm also the luckiest guy in the world. And let me explain that a little bit. The luckiest guy in the world is not a person, it's not an award that anyone won, it's not a job title. What it is it's a state of being. It's how you feel when everything in the world just starts to come together for you and you're just enjoying life to the fullest. And one of the things that happens is you get up every morning and you get excited about the day. And that's probably because you plan the day the way you want it to be. And at the end of the day, you come back and you find that the things that you accomplished that day were really good, and you're working entirely in something that we call your unique ability. And finally, and probably most important, is the people around you all acknowledge that they appreciate you and that they're glad you're around. And when all those things happen, how can you not feel like the luckiest guy in the world? So I'd like to introduce my co-host today, Casey Dempster, who is well rested from a vacation.
Yes.
So we can expect really good things. So good morning.
Good morning, Ray. And I'd like to take a minute to talk about the title of our show, Breaking the Rules. And we named it that because our show is about change. And just because things have always been done a certain way doesn't mean that you have to continue to do them that way. And sometimes I have a little bit of a personal problem with saying that because it sounds like I'm advocating that people just do what they want to do and break all the rules. But I found a quote that I think helps me, and maybe it will help others too. And it's from Pablo Picasso, you know, the artist that did those goofy paintings with the eyes and the features everywhere they don't belong. And he said, "Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist." And what he means by that is that if you know the rules of painting, then you can take the time to break them that will feed your creative artistic juices. And I was talking with Ray about it, and I know Ray didn't realize this, but he was classically trained. He was a classically trained artist, and in his early years, he painted traditional landscapes and things like that. And it wasn't until he felt comfortable with all of that he started to experiment and expand his creativity. So that's basically what we're trying to encourage people to do here, is to understand the rules and then break them to fit your situation, but don't break the laws.
Now, can you imagine Pablo Picasso doing classical painting? How boring.
Well, that's probably why he changed.
Yeah, and this is the advantage of breaking the rules. And the other reason I know that breaking the rules bothers you is you went to Catholic school, right?
Yes.
You were taught not to break the rules.
Right.
And to tell you the truth, you're doing a great job now, so keep going.
At breaking the rules or keeping them?
Well, whichever one, but I think you're having more fun now, and I think you're making a difference. So today we're going to talk about engagement, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay,
yes.
And you have some quotes for us.
Well, it's not so much a quote, but what I wanted to say was that in our online courses, we espouse that people in their retiring years maintain social engagement, and sometimes that's hard for them if their life was their work. So what we're trying to get them to do is find a way to be socially engaged. But there's a lot of people who aren't ready to retire that aren't socially engaged. And maybe they're not even engaged at work. So what we're going to talk about today, I think, is ways that you can be engaged outside of the workplace.
Well, yes and no, okay? And I think this is a good time to kind of break open this discussion because being engaged is what life is all about. I can't imagine getting up every morning and going to work just to go to work. I know a lot of people do. And I have met people who do that so that they can make money, and they have found their engagement outside of work. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is you spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week or more working. It really is a shame not to be engaged in life during that period of time.
Right.
So what we're going to discuss today, and we have a great guest because he's not only engaged in work, but he's found unique ways of getting engaged outside of work. But let's talk about this thing called engagement a minute. So I pulled a Casey Dempster. I went to Google this time.
Good.
And I got a list. I typed in staying engaged. Now, the first time I went through this, I made a mistake. I typed in engagement. And, you know, all they talked about was the rings you should buy for your future spouse. But when you get into staying engaged, there are a whole bunch of things. So this is obviously an important topic. So 7 ways to help you stay engaged. Six ways to help you stay engaged at work. 7 ways to help you stay engaged. The secret to staying engaged at work. How to boost your career by staying engaged.
Sounds like a big topic.
Well, it is, but you know, most importantly, I think engagement is kind of linked to passion in life.
Okay.
And I think if you can stay engaged in something because you feel good about it or because it makes you feel good, then all of a sudden the world starts to open up. And whether it's being engaged because you're traveling, whether you're engaged at work, whether you're engaged just because you're talking to somebody, a lot of this has to do with staying in the presence too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it makes you a more interesting person because, you know, if your life is centered around your work, the only people that are going to be interested in hearing what you have to say are people that are in that same industry. So having outside activities, you know, when they used to say you've got to be a well-rounded student, having outside activities makes you a more interesting human being, and that also makes it easier to stay engaged because people will want to engage with you.
And I think there's more to it. You know, I think you kind of build a giant Rolodex in life as you go through it, and you meet people, and some people you like right away, and some people you don't like, and you don't have to stay engaged with people you don't like, but oftentimes they come around in circles.
Right.
And I think it just gives you an opportunity, and when we talk about the luckiest guy in the world, what we're talking about is really feeling lucky because you have all these opportunities out there and you can get a hold of them if you want to and stay engaged. You see them, and that's what makes you feel lucky.
Right.
And I think I want to make one more statement over here. You know, we talk about our course, our first one, which is the free one, and we talk about having a plan. And if you don't have a plan to stay engaged in life, I think you need to get one. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to bring on Matt Siegel, financial planner extraordinaire, but more important than that, I think, is he really is doing some interesting things in life.
Yes. Okay. We'll be back.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to jumpstart sales.
Build attendance for an event.
Help people find their way. Fast Signs designed new directional signage.
And got them back on track. Get started at fastsigns.com.
Welcome to Live Better Longer, the show for baby boomers who want to improve and even extend their retirement years. I'm your host, Bill Borton. On Live Better Longer, our viewers meet and learn from a wide variety of experts and thought leaders who share their knowledge on subjects ranging from portfolio management to nutrition management, from insurance, Social Security, and reverse mortgages, to annuities, Medicare, and Roth IRA conversions. Not just thought-provoking and actionable information, but why it's important to you. Tune in every Tuesday at 11 on RBN TV for reliable and unbiased information from experts in their field who are committed to helping you live better longer.
Is your business growing and now you need a new and bigger building? Has your organization outgrown their facility and now it's time to expand?
Do your hobbies require the need for more space?
If you're paying rent, but now you want the advantages of owning, the prospect of financing, construction, and on-time completion may seem out of your reach. General Steel Corporation has the answer.
A pre-engineered steel building from the General will not only look great and satisfy almost any need, but you'll save time and money. Our team will help you create your building and deliver it to your location. We offer design services to help you present your concept to board members, bankers, or for fundraising. And the General can even help with financing. General Steel is a name you know, with quality backed by a 50-year structural warranty. Call today and find out how easy it is to have the building you want. You may even save up to $20,000 with rebates. If you need space, you need the General.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel.
Welcome back to Breaking the Rules, and I'd like to introduce our guest, Matt Siegel. And Matt, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
And Matt is a unique person. I've known him for 5-6 years now. He is a financial advisor. The name of your firm is?
Millstone River Wealth Management.
Wealth Management in Marlton, New Jersey, and you have another location too.
And in
right?
Wall Township.
Okay, and in addition to working as a financial advisor and helping people accumulate money and figuring out how to spend it, you have a family, right?
I do. Married 25 years, and I have a 12-year-old daughter.
And you just came back from a 25th anniversary trip.
We did.
How was it?
It was wonderful. We spent 2 weeks cruising around the Mediterranean. Doesn't get better.
Okay. So what we want to talk about today is not so much your financial planning activities, but we want to talk about the other things that you're doing. And you're very active in the March of Dimes, I believe.
I am.
So give us some history. Why are you active in it? How did this develop? And just kind of go on autopilot here and tell us about your feelings.
Sure. So I mentioned I have a 12-year-old daughter. When she was born, it was early as a result of some medical issues my wife experienced out of the blue. And so they had to do an emergency C-section and take this baby who was barely 2 pounds, not breathing, and definitely not ready to enter the world. As a result of her early arrival, she faced a lot of medical crises immediately. And one of them was respiratory distress syndrome, for which she was treated with a therapy that was developed with research funded by the March of Dimes. And I think it was to distract me and get me out of their way, but one of the nurses handed me a pamphlet about the therapy that they were going to do. And I sat in the hall while they were administering this, and I read about it. And in the footnote it said, you know, funding by March of Dimes, or research funded by March of Dimes. And throughout this pamphlet, March of Dimes was mentioned several times. When my daughter Hannah became old enough, about 6 months or so, where we were past all of the major hurdles medically, I sought out the March of Dimes, and I literally called their office and said, I want to come and repay a debt. I'll come and do anything you want. And they thought I was an odd request. So I was asked, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm a big guy. I can move heavy things. I can work in an office. I can interact with people. Whatever you need, you know, I just want to come and do something. I feel compelled and drawn to want to do something. So after kind of trying a bunch of different roles, eventually the state director came to me and said, I think we should sort of point you towards our board of directors, and you can get involved with advocacy work and fundraising and, you know, being a good sort of ambassador to the public about what they do. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So for about 12 years, I've been very actively engaged with March of Dimes. And I believe, although I've helped to raise money and awareness for a great cause, I think I've gotten much more in return than I gave to them.
Okay, so let's clarify something. So
Sure.
First of all, your daughter is absolutely fine, right?
Today she is.
Okay, so you don't, you're continuing this obligation to work with the March of Dimes. I have a feeling you'll probably be there for the rest of your life.
As long as they'll have me.
Okay, so I'm looking for the right words here, and I'm having difficulty finding them, but if I wanted to get involved in something, now in this particular case, you had a deep motivation, right? So you actually sought out the process. Everybody that does this doesn't have that, right?
No, I would say most people who volunteer for an organization like March of Dimes whether it's on a board of directors as I'm doing or on some committee or planning special events. Most people come one of just a couple of ways. It could be because you have a connection to the mission, as I did. More often it's because you like or respect a person who asked you to come and join the effort, and you sort of obliged them and accepted an invitation to get involved, and then you saw that there were really great people doing great work and you want to be part of that. I think that's probably the more common path for more people who are involved. But as a result, on our board of directors here in New Jersey, we have people from banking and real estate and accounting and all types of, healthcare and medical type fields. It's a pretty diverse group of people.
Can I ask a question? Because I can remember as a child, and this is going way back, we'd get those little cardboard booklets with the slots, and they were given to children, and they wanted them to save their dimes and put them in the slots. I always remember hearing about the Mother's March.
Right.
But what exactly was or continues to be or has expanded the mission of March of Dimes?
That's a great question. March of Dimes started just about 80 years ago, and it was founded in part by Franklin Roosevelt as a sitting U.S. president.
Okay.
And its mission was to fight polio.
Okay.
So you may recall that they funded the Salk vaccine, which was among the first to be proven safe and effective, and virtually led to wiping out polio, definitely in the U.S., but in most places around the world. After they realized their mission, one of very few charitable organizations to be able to claim that they realized their mission. And unfortunately, it was after FDR's passing, so he didn't get to see it firsthand, but he played the most instrumental role in founding it. They decided that instead of folding up their tents and going home, they would just turn their attention to babies and maternal health, and ultimately to prematurity and birth defects. And that's been their mission ever since. So they would still do the dimes, except that inflation dictates we need to collect more than that.
We need to have booklets with dollars in it now, right?
I think it's higher than that at this point. So you mentioned you kind of went in here with the attitude of I'll do anything and anything. I'm a big guy. I'll move furniture. Whatever it is.
Right.
So you've settled in now to kind of a process there. And how much are your talents really used with the things that you're doing for March of Dimes?
Well, I mean, part of it is just the ability to go out and speak about the mission, because I'm sure most people may have familiarity with the name, but not necessarily familiarity with the mission or what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So as it was explained to me by a woman who was a longtime director for March of Dimes who has since passed, first and foremost, be a good ambassador. And I think I try very hard to do that. In fact, most people know me as the guy from March of Dimes, not necessarily the guy who invests your money.
Huh.
But also because opening doors for them, making connections for them to get more people involved and or raise money. All the things they do cost a lot of money. Medical research, programs for pregnant or expectant mothers, programs to help babies that are born too soon or too sick in the hospital and support their families. The list goes on. Legislative advocacy has become a major force for them. So just opening doors and making connections is a big thing that I do there.
So there's a lot of opportunity for people with skill sets to find what they do and apply it to this.
For sure. And don't think that you don't have what they need. Almost always these charitable organizations have a broad need for lots of things. And I think it's a great way, you talk about engagement, it's a great way to be engaged and feel really great about advancing somebody's cause for good.
Good. Hold that thought. When we come back after our next break, we're going to talk a little bit about how you match your skill sets and get involved in some of these charities.
Great.
Did you see the sign?
When I needed to jumpstart sales.
Build attendance for an event.
Help people find their way. Fast Signs designed new directional signage.
And got them back on track. Get started at fastsigns.com.
Hey everyone, this is Donna Valente, sales performance and leadership coach and founder of the Enterprise Sales Institute. Join me every Wednesday at 11 o'clock here with RVN TV on That Sales Show. On this show, we are going to share with you best practices in emotional intelligence, sales process, and sales strategy with some of the industry's biggest thought leaders. So, don't forget, 11 o'clock Wednesday, here with RVN TV and That Sales Show.
Got a quarter?
Welcome back to Breaking the Rules. I'm your host, Ray Lowe. Sitting next to me is Casey Dempster, our co-host. And on the other side, the adversarial side, we have Matt Siegel, financial planner. We found out Matt is heavily involved in the March of Dimes and kind of why. But that's not the only activity that you're involved in, is it?
It's not. One of the great things about March of Dimes is that the mission is big and important. One of the things it doesn't do is provide instant gratification. And this is 2018 after all, and everyone wants instant gratification. So about 4 years ago, I went under training to become a crisis counselor. This is a volunteer job. There are a tremendous number of people who have a need for help at a very difficult moment in their lives, often the worst moment in their lives, not always, but often. And we can spend 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes, whatever it might be, with someone who is really just at their rope's end and not sure where to turn. And our job is not always to solve their problems or point them in the right direction in their lives, but to get them out of that hot moment and into a cool, calm state. And that is an instant gratification role.
Okay. So how did you decide you wanted to do this, and how did you find this?
There's been a lot of talk over the last number of years about particularly teenagers, but not just teenagers, who don't know how to cope with everything going on in their lives. Things come at us fast and furious. There's a charity local to our Monmouth County office, which is solely in existence to help prevent teen suicide. And the problem is, as it was explained to me, that a lot of these kids are dealing with information and stimulation that comes at them like trying to take a drink from a fire hose. With social media and the internet and everyone having a phone in their pocket, information moves 24/7 and never stops and only grows. And some kids don't know how to handle that. By the way, lots of adults don't know how to handle that either. And it became interesting to me because I think it's something I can do. And I said, I think this is a place I might be of some value and I can help. And selfishly, I get great sense of worth and purpose by playing a small role in somebody's life just to fix that one day, that one very difficult day for them. And I liken it, Ray, to the casino. If you walk around a casino long enough, somebody wins a few bucks out of a slot machine. And when the bells are ringing and the lights are flashing, it keeps everyone else motivated to want to keep trying.
Right.
Well, if you help just one person, just once in a while, it keeps you motivated to want to keep trying. And so, we don't have a win every single time I, engage with someone at the crisis center, but we have enough of them to just keep me motivated. So I've been doing that for just 4 years, but I find it incredibly rewarding.
Now, how do you know when you're successful?
Well, you kind of get a sense. I mean, first off, sometimes people will actually explicitly thank you and say, you've helped me. Often by doing nothing more than just listening. Sometimes they will provide feedback to the crisis center that your manager will forward to you in an email a few days later. And really, it's the most rewarding email you can receive, Among all the emails we get every day, if you get an email that said, hey, you dealt with someone at the crisis center last weekend and they thought enough to write this text or this email feedback and we wanted to pass it along to you, makes you feel good. You had an impact on someone's day at their worst moment.
Yeah, I've often, in talking with people, at some point in our lives, we maybe start to question, what's my purpose? Why am I here? And that sounds like a great way of finding that, because sometimes we don't know whose lives we touched, and we may never know where we've helped someone. So that's, like you said, it's a great immediate gratification. And I don't think it's selfish. I think that human beings want to help people. And so I think that you're just fulfilling what we're kind of made to do.
So how do you find the time for all this? Here you are, you're a financial advisor. You got several hundred clients, right?
Correct.
Okay, you got to take care of their daily lives. You got to help them, all right? And then you're doing this work for the March of Dimes, and now you man a crisis center for several hours a week. And do you ever sleep?
I do. I sleep well, actually, because these things, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I have a wide array of interests, and I've always been engaged with multiple hobbies, and I love spending time with my family. The three of us, as you mentioned, we can go away on vacation, and we're hogtied together for 2 weeks, but there was no fighting, no bloodshed. We came back, still in love with each other, and so I like all that stuff, and I actually like what I do professionally, as a financial advisor, managing people's portfolios, helping with financial planning. I love doing that. The difference between that and the volunteer work is that I'm compensated, so people discount the merit of the nobility of helping people because we're paid to do it, and that's how I earn a living.
Right.
But quite frankly, it's not that much different when you listen to a client talk about their most important things in their lives and how we can play a small role in helping them plan for that or pay for that. It's not too different than some of the other things we just talked about, but because I get paid for it, it doesn't have quite the same sense of gratification.
Okay, so you found this over time. The March of Dimes thing, you were kind of driven to the crisis center. I'm not sure kind of where that came from, but if I were a person and I'm sitting down trying to come up with a plan for the rest of my life, and I decide it's time for me to give back, it's time for me to get involved, how do you do this? Do you have any insights?
I think it's good to introspectively consider, what you might be good at. And by the way, it's okay to try something and fail and then go try something else. There's nothing wrong with that. We all are programmed to think that there's something wrong with that, but frankly, there's nothing wrong with that in my view. But I think to give some thought to what we might be good at and where we might have an impact. It's well documented that if you were given a sum of money and you could either buy something for yourself or do some good with it, that the greater sense of satisfaction comes from doing good for someone else. So maybe volunteer work, fulfills that, and maybe it's something else. But I think we can all take a little time and, give some thought to that, and then the rewards are tremendous.
Well, Matt, thanks for being with us. Now I know why you're such a good financial advisor. You've learned how to listen, you've learned how to engage, and thanks so much for being here. I think your insights are going to be helpful to people. So Millstone River, right?
Correct.
If they need you. And thanks for being with us.
Thanks, a lot of fun.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.